How you doing today?
Good, and you?
Good, good. Like I was just talking a little bit, wild week. I won't go into that week. I'll talk. I was thinking about doing something, because I'm trying to branch out a little bit. Yesterday, or a few weeks ago, I was doing that. Like I already mentioned, there was like a ribs, rods, rock and roll event, and then Mason, I'm telling you, Mason's amazing. With the filming and editing. So we uploaded that video yesterday, and of course I put it on Facebook and everything. So right now, currently after that, say that one day, we're at 2,000 views, and I'm like, okay, that's good. People are sharing it, community.
Oh,
But his stuff is, I'm telling you, like the editing, he's just. That's why I give all the credit to him. He's so amazing at it. I just talk to people. That's all I do, and just try to organize some stuff. And then lately, my wife, Myra, she was like, "Yeah, you know what you should do? Go." With Myra, she loves cooking. She loves cooking, so I
like
was
what kind of cooking? Which cuisine?
Mexican food,
Oh,
of course, but, like, she loves it, like, she's passionate about it, and I said, "Hey, why don't we do, like, some shorts or TikTok or whatever?" So, we did some filming, I just need to put it together, but I don't want it to be like a normal, I'll just follow recipe. I like adding different things. So what I'm thinking about, I'll do it hopefully this week, next week. She's making tamales, and then it's gonna connect with. There's a musician called Chalino.
mm.
Yeah, Chalino. He got murdered a while back.
Oh wow.
But he's like the, I think, king of there's a genre called corridos, and then it's also gonna connect with a spider. It's in my head. I like adding comedic stuff, and then I don't know. I like this stuff. I like recording. I like content, but yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing.
This is good.
Yeah,
Yeah, like speaking of Mexican cuisine, I think we have too many Mexican restaurants for a small town.
there is
But what we really need? A food truck, a Mexican food truck.
a Mexican food
Yeah,
truck.
like like few weeks ago, even few months ago, I went for a short trip. I told you one time, I'm going to the South, Louisiana, Texas.
Yeah,
Um, I tried, like one of their food truck in Texas. It was so good. Like El Pastor taco,
yeah.
and even they have gringas
Uh-huh.
with pineapple. It was good. Although I'm not a big fan of pineapple on stuff, but it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think we need some Mexican food truck in town instead of having multiple
Mhm.
restaurants. But
No, but you're right because a few years ago, did I ever tell you that me and Myra we used to sell food here or not?
I know
So 3 years
food
ago,
truck.
kind of it was actually a stand like street food. So 3 years ago, because there wasn't the only Mexican restaurant they had was
Pico
Mexico
Viejo,
Viejo,
yeah.
and that was it. And then Myra, because Myra's from Mexico, and we're like thinking, man, they don't have like tacos, like authentic
Yeah.
tacos. So
And here by authentic we mean Mexican or Tex-Mex.
Mexican. And then we had the idea. I said, Myra, why don't we do something? Let's make some street food. There's no street food
Yes.
in
Yeah.
Vermilion. So we did it. So we were in downtown, right in front of there's a chiropractor.
Oh yeah.
Um, we set up a tent. I brought my flat top table, and I make the food. It's like in Mexico, because also in Mexico, they don't have food trucks. It's usually it's
Kind of standard.
yeah, in a stand in a
Yeah.
cart. So we did that, and it was fun. It was good, and we got invited. We did that last year, and then the year before this year we didn't because Myra's pregnant. But that stuff was cool. And then like in the wintertime at the brewery, same thing. We did some tacos, some elote, and then tamales. People love tamales around here, so we wanted to do more of that. But man, it's a lot of work. A lot of work. Like the sell, I like the talking and selling and making the food. But prepping, man, like we were there for hours at home just prepping and then setting up, and we're there 9 p.m. and Myra's tired, and it's fun, but
I mean, yeah, even it's rewarding, and probably I don't know, like you should bring it back. But I mean, like it reminds me of something like we do in Louisiana, um, crawfish bowl.
yeah.
It's a lot of work. Like you have to, I don't know, spend many hours. Then at the end, when you eat it, it's just few minutes. It's like let's say 80% work, then less than 20% to enjoy the thing. But it's all about company, and family and friends.
Yeah.
It's all this process.
Yeah. And then what I love about it, because did I do it for the money? yes and no. Of course, the money's good, but I like it because I didn't know a lot of people here. They didn't know what like a real taco was.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought everyone knew. Well, I'm from Texas. Everyone knows there. We had like some people. They thought they're like, oh, I can I have a taco and can I have like they were like, what's in it? And I said, oh, it's like the ones we made. We had al pastor, we had chorizo, and then we had bistec, or people know it as carne asada.
Oh yeah.
And I make it there, like, I make it right in front of you. You could hear it, and then they're like, "Lettuce, tomato?" I'm like, "No, no." "Cheese?" I'm like, "No." And they say sour cream. Yeah, they say sour cream. I'm like, "No,
You
it
own it.
no, it's cilantro, or
Yeah.
people know it as coriander, onion, and some salsa, and then you can add some other little tiny things, and that's it." I remember I had a lady, she was very, there was an older lady, because she told me about it. She was like, "Do you have this?" I'm like, "No, no, no, no." So, "Okay, let me get one taco." I'm like, "Oh, man." So we gave it to her, and I thought she was gonna hate it, and then she comes back, I'm like, "Oh, man, she's gonna say it sucks." And she said, "Man, that was really, really good." I'm like, "Oh, thank you." So, yeah, we were trying to bring, like, authentic stuff. Of course, they have now Fayuca. Fayuca opened up. Um, Fayuca's fine. It's not I'm more picky. I'm not the audience, because I've talked with the, owner. He's more, LA style, and
Yeah.
it does have a different style. I like their carne asada, and for me, there's a taco called they call it birria taco.
Birria.
Yeah, but I'm it's more newish because I'm it's because my whole family and Myra and my daughter, they're from Mexico. They grew up there. Birria is more Americanized with the cheese and all that. I mean, it tastes good. I'm not used to it. That's why I'm not the audience, but perfectly fine.
Yeah, and uh, if you see even if we want to talk about cuisine or even language,
Sure.
which is like really interesting, how cuisine or language evolved. Even let's say this is kind of probably you can classify it as Mexican cuisine, right?
Yep.
But probably it wasn't born in Mexico, in the proper Mexico. Probably it was born among the Mexican community in U.S. Even I mean, of course, it was inspired, and probably it has the same ingredients that probably you would use in Mexico, but probably it like forked and become its own thing. I don't know if we should call it Tex-Mex because I don't think it's only Tex-Mex, right?
True.
Yeah,
You're right.
probably. I don't know. It's like Amex, like that
Thank
credit card.
There you go. This episode is brought to you by Five Star Barbershop. Are y'all guys looking for a place to get a haircut? I recommend Five Star Barbershop. They're the #1 barbershop in the southeast region of South Dakota. From haircuts, beards, eyebrows, shampoo, you name it. They also offer discounts for students and athletes. I will add their link so you can make an appointment because they get very, very busy. Now let's get back to it. But you're right, because you're familiar. You know how like they make al pastor?
Yeah,
They use
yeah, yeah. I know.
because that originated in, is it in
Yes,
the lemon?
yeah. So like El Pastor, kind of it is it's kind of interesting dish, by the way. So many like immigrant from what was called like I think it was during the Ottoman Empire, like many immigrant, I think they traveled using even some Turkish passport, but by ethnicity they were kind of Levantine, especially like Lebanese. So they travel from there to like Mexico, and when culture and group of people live in one piece of land, they intermingle and they share stuff. So I think this group of people saw the idea of taco, right? And like back home they have their own like shawarma and kebab thing. It's like you put a piece of meat on a skewer, and you rotate it and you slice the stuff to make the filling for, let's say, your wrap or sandwich. So they try to use like the same concept and mix it with like the Mexican taco, and that's what you got El Pastor, which interestingly is made from pork meat.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting too? So in Mexico, I think it's two people that I know. Well, not personally. So a billionaire, the richest guy in Mexico, Carlos Slim. I think or his family is like from Lebanon.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think if I read it right, there's this artist. His name is Peso Pluma. He's very popular right now, and his name I think is Hassan. I was like, that doesn't sound Mexican at all. and it says his family is from, I don't know if it said Lebanon, but it was part of the Middle East. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Huh, it's interesting." I didn't know all that stuff. And I think the president, I think her name's Claudia something, but she is, or her family, grandparents, I think they're
Yes,
Jewish.
yes. Like we
So,
have Jewish roots.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, apparently we're all, like, mixed everywhere.
Yeah, like it's like layer after layer after layer. At some point, even you lose a track of people, probably ancestry or roots.
Mm.
And I don't know if, even if we really want to talk about everyone, we're a culmination of many like layers, whether culture, language, even cuisine wise. Even at this point, you like never know what you're eating as a proper cuisine. You're eating probably a mix of everything.
Yeah.
It's like really interesting how things evolve, even in technology, which we will be talking about shortly.
Yeah.
If you see the history is really interesting, and these like technology or whatever processes, like they don't evolve in vivo. uh, you know so it's a process. The environment affect all of these processes. It shape it, create many like layer to get the final outcome or product.
Mhm. Okay, I see it. Well, let's dive into it. So, Rod, why so you're a professor at USD, Computer Science Department.
Yes.
Is that what you always wanna do when you were younger? Or how did you get into it?
Yeah, I mean, this is,
A little bit.
it's kind of tough question, by the way, because I always wanted to, teach. Even when I was small kid, I used to kind of tutor student, especially my colleague. I mean, I was what the people said. I don't know. I was like, a prodigy son, a prodigy child. Um, so yeah, like I used to tutor all my colleague, all my friends and classmates. Um, and I felt it's rewarding when you help people and you teach them, because when you teach someone, it's not just your fill them in with knowledge. Also, it's like somehow you're shaping what they will become in the future. You shape what their future self will be. You
Mm.
know, it's not just about knowledge. Even you teach them how to process information. Like how to even learn, because like learning, maybe we take it as a simple process. Probably like you think you just read, but it's not just about reading. It's about how you absorb this information, how to break it down, how you store it in your brain. Because, I mean, yes, you can read something, today, and probably in a few days you forgot about it. Then what's the point?
Yeah.
Like learning is a process, which even, this is something what we try to do in AI. We try to create systems that somehow like mimic the way we learn stuff, although maybe our process is not that perfect, because we do mistake too. Even if you're, I don't know, sleep deprived, right? Probably like you don't have this mental and cognitive capability to learn properly, or even let's say if you're drunk or something. So like our brain is not always perfect, or is not in a perfect state all the time. So like we have our ups, we have our downs, but it's like really interesting. And that's what we try like to do in AI and what you call even machine learning, if you want to be very technical.
Oh, okay. How so lately, this past when was it? When did, like, they start, like, the first versions of ChatGPT? I think it was a 2 point, but it was, like, a few years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah. So ChatGPT emerged a few years ago, but kind of as a technology, which is a transformer. It's a bit old. Even if we go down in history, I mean, like this whole architecture, have roots since, I don't know, like 1940, when we have the first kind of notion of system that now we call AI. So like, the term AI was coined way later, but since 1940, we do what now we call AI. So we have kind of intelligence system, which was a big like topic of exam, by the way. What is intelligence? And even like we have some scientists like Alan Turing, he raises a question, like do machine things, like do machine think?
Do they? I don't know.
I mean, kind of it's a tougher question. It's more philosophical, and if we really want to answer it, then the next question would be what is thinking.
Uh-huh.
So first we have to like define what thinking, then we would be able to answer if really machine think. And one can use another analogy here is like, do submarine swim?
Oh,
You know,
yeah, okay.
like
I feel it.
yeah. So now, what do you think? I mean, if even if you're not kind of AI expert or something, probably like you can tell, like submarines, right?
Yeah,
So like, do submarines swim?
I think that's
Like,
one. Well,
what do
yeah.
you think?
No, they, yeah, I would say yes.
I mean, it
Yeah,
is tough because first, like, you need to understand what actually is swimming,
yeah, because it's
and
just
swimming is it something just strictly for humans, or it can be to like literally anything? You know what I mean?
yeah, because it could be anything. But yeah, because with the submarines, because we don't think, oh yeah, the submarine's swimming. But with animals, we do think of it. But the machine, I mean, the submarine technically is doing the same thing. But yeah, we're saying that, but we're only calling it swimming with us or with, I guess, living things.
Yeah,
But why?
exactly. Yeah,
But why not non-living?
exactly, and that's like like the same process or concept can be applied to like AI. You know, so like, do machine really think? You know, it's a philosophical question. And now, I mean, with all of this advancement, with what we call large language models, which is kind of the technology behind ChatGPT and all of these AI tools, we like really have a really impressive performance in all tasks. Even probably you yourself. I mean, I've been watching your channel and podcast for a while. I mean, you like mentioned a couple of time you use ChatGPT and these AI tools for all kind of things,
Oh yeah,
and I think you find it very helpful. Especially it cuts, it cuts you a lot of effort and time, right?
yeah,
So like at this point, we like really have tools, that can help us in many ways. But of course, some people would think these tools maybe have some disadvantage. Some people even said, "Oh, probably we should ban this technology because it will be our end, as a race, as a humanity." And if you want, we can talk about that, and we can talk about more kind of sci-fi thing or sci-fi aspect of AI
yeah,
or the lore of AI.
yeah. See, so I use ChatGPT. Actually, so this is what I use. I like playing with it. ChatGPT. I use Google Gemini. I'll sometimes dive into Microsoft Copilot. I haven't used. Is it called Grok? That
Yes, that's by XAI.
Yeah, I haven't used that one, but look, actually, and I used it yesterday. No, 2 days ago
Oh,
and yesterday. So I was using ChatGPT. I was using it for the podcast because I was wondering. I was like, "Well, how do I make the?" I was doing some editing, and I was like, "Well, how do I do it faster?" I know there's YouTube videos, but I don't know. I just need. I feel like there's another way. So I was asking it. I was like, "Hey, can you just show me how to do like a multicam, blah 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 blah?" And it taught me. It taught me the instructions,
yeah,
and I was doing it, and then there was a part where I just didn't know. So, "Can you further explain it? Can we start over? I'm at this point," and it helps me. I'm like, "Okay," and of course, it's not doing my editing, but it's a helpful tool. And then yesterday, I was asking it, so I'm trying to do the budget for this month. My wife is she's an accountant. She knows all this stuff. I don't. She gave me a software, and I just don't know how to do it. So I was asking, "Hey, can you help me budget? I'm starting with this,"
yeah,
and it plans it out. It's real cool. Another thing philosophically, so I don't recommend people. Well, they can do whatever they want, but so a few weeks ago, I was asking, because actually I use it for. I won't go religious. I promise. No, I said, "Hey, can you pretend to be Jesus Christ?" And I
oh,
was telling him some of the stuff, and like some problems I was having or this and that, and it was kind of pretending. And of course, I'm not saying, "Oh, it is Jesus Christ," but and I was looking through it and I was like, "Hey, these are kind of inspirational." Of course, I'm not saying, "Hey, okay, this is like," I think this is where people kind of branch out because I've seen where people like are using it as like a chat box to replace like a friend or as a girlfriend. I'm like, "Hey, okay, it's kind of taking it a little too far." I think it's very interesting, but that stuff I use it a lot. I love it. Myra doesn't like it. She thinks it's making us dumber. I don't think so because people could have said the same thing. Two examples. Back then when people were thousands of years before books, people were talking about oral stuff,
Yeah.
orally. Now the books came out. Maybe back then they're like, "You can't do that. No, no, don't do that. Then we're not gonna remember this stuff." Now internet came out or a while back. People are like, "No, no, no, no. It's making us dumber." No, and it's just an extra tool. I like this stuff. I like tech. That's me.
I mean, yeah, even if you want, I can add one more example.
Sure.
It's, I'm probably like you had this kind of line many times, probably like you've heard this line many times when you were a kid or student in, I don't know, primary school or something. Like kind of back in the days, like the teacher would tell you, like, don't use calculator to do the homework or that assignment. So try to like solve it by hand because probably when you go to the real world, you won't have calculator in your pocket. But like, guess what? Now, like we
Good.
have these,
All the time.
like I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know, but I think most people when they go do shopping or something, they need to do some quick math. It's very quick. You pull out your phone, you type if you think you get the answer.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do have this at our disposal. Even I myself, I use my phone, even my laptop, like my second brain. Because I try to reduce the information I store in my brain because if you like really need to learn a lot of stuff, your brain will be overfilled with probably some information that you don't need to know. Which here, like Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you're a big fan of him.
Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, yeah, I know that.
Yeah, like so he have this kind of theory called brain ethic, which is like something very similar to what I'm saying. Even Einstein said very like similar thing. He said, your brain is like an attic. It's very like limited in space. So like you don't need to fill it with, I don't know, useless furniture or in this context information. You only need to know where to find this information if needed. Like for example, you don't need to know some information that you don't use on a like daily basis, especially if it's very niche.
Yeah.
But you should know where to find it if you need it. So like that's how I use my phone. I mean, I don't even know, for example, what's your phone number. I mean, I call you, you call me, right?
Mm.
I just open my contacts and I send you a text, even without knowing your phone number. I mean, these days I don't think anyone know their acquaintances or friend phone number, right?
True.
So that's kind of how I use, and I think most of us use our phone or even laptop as our second brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's what I and I understand where some people they're saying, "Oh, yeah, it's making us dumber," but it's for me,
It's not dumber. It's like we're extending our cognitive capability.
they
And this tool, we should use them as an assistive tool because, like many people would think AI will replace us, AI will take our job. I mean, it depends on how you see it.
mm,
AI probably will shape like the type of a job. It will shake this whole landscape and probably it will create more job very specific to this modern era of technology. I mean, even, like back in the days, we've seen a lot of shift, like especially in industry, kind of industrial like revolution, right?
mm,
We have um, we have a shift when we switch to the steam engine. We have shift when we switch to machine and automation. Probably at each moment or at each stage, like many people have the same argument. Is it good or bad? This is will kill some job maybe, but it create other job, or even what we like to say, it change the type of a job. So it's not AI will replace you. Probably someone who know AI replace you, and probably that would sound like a cliche,
mm.
but that's the fact.
Yeah.
So that's what's been happening. Even when people used to, I don't know, write using a pen paper, let's say multiple copies of a book, let's say if you're a publisher or something, you have to create multiple copy. So, and probably you have, I don't know, maybe more than 20 staff to copy this whole text. When we got the printing press, it's a quick.
Yeah. Everything changes.
Exactly.
And it's not a bad thing. I'll give you like this is it doesn't involve too well a little bit about AI, but with the tech. For example, what let's say 30, 40 years ago to like make a radio show or even like a podcast, you needed like, a studio
Yeah,
and you have like a bunch of staff and this and that. Nowadays, look, I don't even need this.
exactly.
I could just plug this. I got my phone, editing, There's actually other AI tools that would do it for you. There's a background noise, which I used before. One time, I did an episode, his name's Damon Leader Charge. I lost the whole audio just like that. Something didn't connect because I was using like a Bluetooth mic from
And
Amazon, and I was looking, I was like, "There has to be an AI thing." And, I went to pod it was Adobe Podcast, and then you could put the audio there, and it was capturing from my phone a while back, and, like, I barely hear it, and it enhances it, and it takes out whatever. I don't know what it's doing, and then boom, sounds crispy clear. I'm like, it's these tools that you could do,
it's
and
like magic, right?
yeah, it is. It's freaky too. It's very freaky, but I love it.
Even like, like now, like we have some tools. I don't know if you've used it, like Notebook LM. So like you can create a podcast, engaging podcast out of literally anything. Let's say you can share a YouTube video, or you can share some, I don't know, some document with some information, and ask Notebook LM to create podcast of that. So like if you need to study something, let's say, you will study and learn in a more engaging way.
Mm.
I mean, even so, we can create podcasts, right? Quickly, we can create movies, songs, by the way, which then will raise a question: who own this product? And I think that's where we should really shift our focus and attention and heat. We should, I think, focus on shaping this new landscape, because I think we are not that ready for this change.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I was using too. So what I do with my podcast, I'll take some clips. I'll make something like little shorts, and so if it's like something interesting, um, and usually I always look, I pick an episode and I go through it, and man, it takes a long time because I'm like trying to scroll like what isn't interesting. I took the transcript because Adobe did it for me, and I put in Chat GPT. I was like, "Hey, I'm trying to do like a clip. Can you look through it? Try to figure out some ways, some scenarios that are some scenes that might be interesting." And it gave me a few, and I was listening through them. Okay, okay, maybe. And it's just an extra tool. Because also, what would be the difference if I hired someone just to do that? But no, I could. It's just an
Exactly.
extra tool.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like the stuff. But do you think there is, like, actual danger to it?
I mean, we can ask the same question for like literally any tool or technology, you know so at the end of the day, if you like it or not, like AI is just another tool. We can use it for good, we can use it for bad. Now the question, can AI be used for, I don't know, for crimes, especially in the cyber field? Yes, a lot. Even, I mean, if you see what is being cooking in labs, I mean, what we see now, by the way, it's probably like 2 or 3 years old. Most lab now create like system, what you call next gen system. We probably will see this in 2 or 3 years. So now we're already even behind from what's being cooking in labs. You can really do impressive thing. If some people, I mean, if some, I don't know, entity or a group of people use these tools for bad thing, that will be really tough, right? But this shouldn't stop us like doing what we're doing, because at the end of the day, this is science. I mean, it's like you create some tool, which what happened with like Nobel.
Mm,
He created this like dynamite, right, for good purpose, but people use it for wrong purpose. And then after many years, he said he would start this Nobel Prize to kind of repent. I mean, although it wasn't his fault. I mean, he created something that he envisioned will shape the humanity in a good way. If some people use it for bad purposes, it is on us.
yeah.
We do mistakes, I think, not tools, right? Like, tools is just something at our disposal. We can use it for good, we can use it for bad.
Mhm.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I mean, I always try to ask people. I mean, as people ask me, by the way, like, a few years ago when AI wasn't that hype, I mean, the whole AI hype started with ChatGPT because it was at this point, it become kind of accessible for everyone. Prior to ChatGPT, AI was kind of restricted to a niche of people, scientists, or in labs, right? Or academician. After ChatGPT, I think everyone, all of us probably use this tool and try to like double with it, right? And probably it spark our curiosity. So like many time, I'm invited for supper or dinner or stuff. Um, so once people know I'm a doctor, right? Like the way someone will introduce me is like Dr. Risk. So they think I'm a doctor, like, and a sense medical doctor. So like one of them will tell me, "Oh, doctor, my shoulder is hurting me." Uh, and then I would said, "Oh, I'm not that kind of a doctor. I do AI. I do computer science and engineering." Then they would tell me, it's like there is always someone who have to ask, right? Then they would switch this question to, "Oh, what do you think about AI? Will it like take my job or something?" And then, of course, we strike probably a long, maybe 1 or 2 hours conversation, but it's like really interesting. Uh, a few years ago, we used to share what we do, uh, but probably people will find it boring. Now it's quite the opposite. So people will ask us, "What do you think about this AI? What do you think about this thing?" Because you fear what you don't know.
Sure.
So people want to learn to understand what are these like system are, because for most of us layman people, we see this tool as a black box. So like we don't understand them. We don't know what's under the hood. It's like your car, by the way. Uh, Probably like you drive your car, you only know how to use it. Probably like you don't know how the engine work, how the whole thing work under the hood, and probably like you don't need to know because you will find someone who know, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same thing. So we use AI every day. We use these tools, even if we don't know what is under this hood. But I think the fact that we accept to use them, we kind of implicitly trust them, like willingly or unwillingly. We are trusting them, which is like the same thing you do. I don't know if you go to a restaurant, right?
Mm.
You order few like dishes, right? You eat, you enjoy your time there. Then when it's time to pay, you like willingly, you pull up your credit card and hand it to the waiter, and the waiter will take your credit card. You never know what they can do with it, right? But you trust them.
Yeah.
So yes, there is no free lunch in that sense, like pun not intended here. But yeah, if you're willing to do this whole thing, right? Because you're asking for a need, like you have a need, like you have to pay somehow, and you have to trust, because whatever we do in our community is all based on trust, by the way. If the trust is lost, then what is the point?
You're right.
Even if we need to say the same argument, like, do you trust AI because you trust a machine or a black box that you don't see? For I don't know, for some decision. One can raise the same argument for someone you just got hired. Let's say you have a company and you hired someone that you probably like you only know because you hired them. Like you don't know uh, their whole background, how they think, what is their mindset. Even you don't know their knowledge or their level of expertise. Probably like you only know based on their application, which probably it won't shed a lot of information about their background, right? So like that's why you put them on a trial. So like the question is, do you trust someone that you don't know uh, to make some decision? Probably you ask them, right? And they will tell you an answer. Then you might think, is this a correct answer or not? You hired them for this purpose, which means you were willing to trust them. And that's the same thing with AI.
Yeah, you are right. What do you think causes people to not just fear AI, but fear like the unknown? Is it just, I don't know, are we just like that?
Exactly. Even if we don't talk about technology or advancement, it's like this proverb, right? You fear what you don't know, because we always, yearn for certainty, even in our life. We like things to be predictable. We like to know what will come ahead. Although this might be a bit boring. Let's say like your future. It's like you watch a movie multiple times and you know how the ending will be.
Yeah.
It might be boring, but we always like things that's very predictable because we know what will come next.
Yeah.
And if you understand something, if you understand how system work or even how people work, I mean, let's say like you are a director or a manager of some small company or something. If you really understand every employee of yours, you know how to communicate with them properly. You know how to work with them, to avoid a problem because like you know how to like navigate uh, like all of this complexity because each one of us is unique, right? So each one of us have their own mindset, their own kind of way of operation if we really want to relate to machine. uh, and there is no universal way to deal with people. Same with machine. It's if I say, let's say something to one employee, probably the other one will interpret it in another way, right? Although it might be good, they might see it bad or vice versa, right? So like this is why you need to really understand how people think, how machine work, so you will be able to complete what you're planning to do in your life or whether in your work.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever get to that point where we'll have that, like, AI like in the movies, like an iRobot, like it's conscious? But I guess we gotta say, what is conscious?
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly, which I was about to say. But yeah, I mean, if you see AI or weather technology in general, and here I will use one of my quotes, what I like to say today, technology is yesterday science fiction. I mean, probably all of us, I mean, when you were a kid, right? Um, Probably you grow up on some science fiction movies, sci-fi movies and series. I don't know, flying cars,
Yeah.
magic stuff, like time travel machine. All of these things. We always find these like things interesting, and like some of these things, actually happen after many years.
Yeah.
If you compare stuff, I mean, even in some old series, by the way, like we had machines that talk, we had machines that are somehow intelligent, which now we can call them AI, by the way. you know um Even I don't know if you watch this old series, Night Rider.
Yeah, the one with the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, now like we have stuff like that. Now we have Tesla, we have Waymo. Even if we want to talk about phone, you have Series, you have Alexa, you have stuff like
Mm.
that. So it's what we've seen as sci-fi. What I don't know our grandparents and ancestor maybe. So as sci-fi, now we see it as a reality, which makes sense because we always yearn for these things and we work hard to implement them and make them reality. And if you really ask all people, which I always do, I exam, if you have a power to choose which era you would like to live in, which one you would choose, like modern day or I don't know, medieval or antiquity?
Mm.
Because like some people have some kind of nostalgia for old times, so probably they would like, I don't know, to live in a medieval era times village, ride horses maybe to work, uh you know uh and almost 99.9, and I just made this number now, but like the majority of them would like tell you we prefer to live in modern day. And then I ask why, right? And they will tell me because now we have all what we need to survive. I mean, even in the old days, people used to pass away for silly reason, a normal flu, high fever.
Mm.
Now, like we have treatment, we have all kind of medications that help us. Flu now they say, what is a flu, right? You can take two pills and go to work. You're good. You recover in a few days, right?
Yeah.
Uh, in antiquity, it's like a terminal illness, you know. So it's really interesting how all of these advancement evolve, and now we live in what I like to call the honeymoon of technology or the honeymoon of advancement. Now we enjoy all the effort of all of these inventors and scientists and people who work on all of these advancement for us. And as a matter of fact, like all of this advancement, it might even have some dark history,
Mm.
which we try. we try like most of the time to neglect that, but this is a sad reality, especially in healthcare and medicine.
Yeah.
All of these surgical advancement, in some dark era of the field, some researcher and scientists, especially surgeon, used to kidnap people to do some experiment on them, right? And try even to learn how to do like surgery. Now we enjoy this effort, and probably we neglect this dark history because probably we don't want to feel guilt that this has happened because of this dark history. And this is a sad reality, which why I call it we live in the honeymoon of advancement.
You are right, especially the honeymoon part. I remember talking to my mom. So when they were younger, they said that when my mom came over, her all her family was in Mexico. They would send cards because first of all, phones were very expensive, internet or to calling international. She said it was like $5 or $10 per minute.
Yes,
Now, uh, now you could they literally FaceTime each other or
exactly,
text, send pictures. It's super quick and all that. Like when 20 years, maybe less.
exactly. And do
5
you know what is sad about that? We take all of these things for granted. I mean,
Yep.
also like same by the way. I remember I used to, when I was a kid, I used to um, go to our attic and try to dig up all the stuff, and then try to find out some family secret. Then I used to find some old letter from my uncle. He's in France, so he used to send my family, um, you know, a bunch of letter probably once a year because like back then it wasn't accessible like now. Now we have phones and stuff, so they used to send letter probably once a year during maybe Christmas or Easter, and you'll see that letter is full because they try to have all their update in one letter and every word matter.
Yeah.
Like these days, because everything is accessible, we take things for granted. uh, I mean, we text people, maybe even we take a lot of pictures that we forget about them after a few days. Even I don't know how many people still print like a picture or have some album for pictures
Yeah, everything's on
like
the phone.
before. I mean, probably like you have an old album where we were a kid. Yeah, I mean, these days we don't do that. We take things for granted because it's easy. So we think it's easy. It's mean it will be always there. But who knows? Which is interesting because if you like really think about it, we have the field of history or even epigraphy or anthropology, uh, because we have the stuff left by ancient civilization, by our ancestors, by all people who came here way before us, right? So they left some like footprints, right? And now we study the thing to learn about them. So how do you think, I don't know, and after many, many years, our, I don't know, future generation, if they try to understand how we used to live, probably like we're not keeping much for them to learn about us, yeah?
Um,
Which is really interesting.
yeah, I always wondered because I know there's people that I'm and I get jealous. People that they know their like family history, like I
Yeah.
can trace them now, and I don't. Like
Oh,
I don't know like my grandparent. Like we don't know all that stuff, and I always wonder, man. Like even my dad, they don't have like there's not that many pictures when they were younger. There's no videos, nothing like that. I'm like, man, it's all a mystery. And now, like I was checking back with like me and my daughter with some pictures. I'm like, man, we're recording like everything history. Like you could see everything like that. And I'm like, "Man, how was it back then?"
exactly. Even this is like something I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have my family tree. I went now, I think, more than 8 level back, 8 generation back. I'm keep trying to expand the tree, but it's not easy, especially, during World War I, World War II. We don't have much documents, but at least you have something to work with. In a future generation, I don't know what we are leaving for them because everything now is like digital, everything on a cloud. Even at some point, if something happened, and all of these servers and kind of the whole cloud thing is gone, we lose everything. I mean, even if you have the stuff on your, I don't know, phone or machine, you store a lot of things. if for some reason your phone have some problem and let's say all your data were wiped, it's lost. But then you said, oh, probably I would do some backup on the cloud. But what if also
Mhm.
the machine that's used by the cloud also, like something went wrong there, you're done, right?
Yeah. Do you think so let's say we're I'll give an example. Let's say, like, right now, for some reason, none of the electronics, everything got wiped out. Nothing works. Do you think we could all recover, or are we at that point where we rely on technology way too much? Because for me, I'm not gonna lie, I love my internet and I love video games. I could be out camping and this and that, but man, I like my internet. But if that happened, what do we think will happen with society?
Yeah. So first, congratulations. Now you come with like you come up with a new Netflix plot. But yeah, I mean, yes, you're right. We're I think too much dependent on technology. I mean, let's say I don't know. Now you have your phone somewhere. I don't see it, but
Yeah, right there.
yeah. But do you think if you lose your phone, even for one day, like you think you will feel good or you will be able to do what you're supposed to do on a daily? Probably not.
Nah, I wouldn't.
Probably like you don't know if you need to call someone, what's their phone number, if you want to put some information, quick thing. Uh, it make our life tough because we're too much dependent on technology.
Mm.
But like we have many people, especially like religious people, like hermit and monks, like they do that. You know, they go what you call hermit, right? Um, they go off the grid, and like do they survive? Yes. Even many of them would say this is like the heaven on earth. You know, it's like you enter in a state of peace,
Mm.
a state of inner peace because yes, technology help us, but also it expose us. So probably more problem um, will happen to us because we're exposed. But if you're isolated, which it might not be that good, by the way, that's another topic. Probably you reduce the odds and probability to have problems surrounding you.
Mm. 'Cause I always wondered, because I know there's people that will say, "Oh man, it was better back in the day, this and that. It's better for all." Just living like how it was years ago. But I think, let's say, okay, for some reason we all went back to that. But there's gonna be someone that wants to advance.
Exactly.
There's always that.
Yes, and you know, so this is what I call, you know, the grass is always greener on the other fence.
Mm.
I like the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. We always, you know, want the things that we don't have or that we used to have. Then once we have it, we regret it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is because we take things for granted. You know, like we don't know the value of what we have until we lose it.
You are right. You're completely right. And it could be first of all, it could be something as dumb as me, "Oh, I don't have my phone now. I wish I had it." Or it could be like a loved one, or it could be like food, or especially like you hear people when, they get lost in the woods or something and maybe they used to eat like everything and then they can't, they're trying to, find food and this and that. Like, we don't know how much I'll give like this is a dumb example too. I remember when I was young, this was like early 2000s. I remember there was a little show called The Jetsons, and then
Oh
one of the
yeah.
kids, he had a watch and he would watch movies on it. And I was like, man, I wish one day we could have that. Apparently now there's smartwatches and now you can watch anything you want. And then sometimes, on a Friday night we're looking and we're like, man, there's nothing on. But I got Netflix, Disney. You got the whole entire catalog of history, and I can't find nothing to watch. I'm like, what? Back then, I would have been like, whoa! Imagine not just one or two, but you have
Exactly.
all
Yeah.
movies. But we're just so used to it. But I think that's how it is throughout history, probably
I mean, yeah, and it's not just about history, it's about life, by the way.
life.
If you see our life is really intriguing, right? It's like a quest, you know, it's like a journey. Uh, when we were kids, you know, probably like we had a lot of time because we have probably less responsibility.
Yep.
So like you can have time to do literally what you want, of course, if your parents approved. But like you have time to even have fun, enjoy life, do stuff, maybe meet with your friends, meet people you love. Now, when you're adult, probably now we have more freedom in a sense. You don't have to get approval from your parents, right? Uh, but what you don't have is time. Time, which is very important because you can reimburse literally everything, even money, right? You can reimburse money, but you can reimburse time. You can move time back unless at some point we invent time travel machine. That's other thing. But it is tough. Time is a rare commodity, you know, which we don't have. So that's why, since time is limited, we have to know our priorities, which is crucial. If you really want to enjoy your life, you need to know how to spend your time wisely. You need to know how to like live a life and not just pass time,
Yeah.
which these two are not the same.
And then funny how you mention it because with it could be money, you can always change how much you make or this and that. Same thing sometimes with health, what you do, careers, or but like time, that's something you can't really change because it. And I mentioned a lot of times that for me nowadays, it's going by quick, like
I know.
fast. Like one day, and I mentioned it with like about Victoria. Like I'm like, whoa! I was looking at past pictures. I'm like, that was like 5 years ago. And then same thing, like something happened. I'm like, didn't but that was like a month ago. How did it fly by? Of course, when you're a kid, you're not thinking about all that stuff. And then I'm looking at my calendar, I got this. I'm like, man, there's not time is going by fast. I was thinking it was like Friday, Monday, Labor Day just happened when? Oh, snap, like what, a week, 2 weeks ago? I was just in Texas. I get scared a little bit now. I'm like, man, there's that time.
I mean, yeah, it's so crazy, especially, during COVID. I think like COVID ruined our sense of time. Even I would like to say, it's like BC, before COVID, after COVID, it's like before Christ and Anno Domini, right? So during, the pandemic, especially when we had lockdown, everything kind of somehow stopped. We switched to an idle state. We lose a sense of time. Even if you try to, I don't know, retrieve some like memories during this period, probably you won't be able to retrieve it clearly. I mean, everything was shut down. Work, even our life, you have to stay indoor. It was a crazy. And probably it won't be the last time we have stuff like that. Who knows, right? It's a crazy. Even it shaped the work landscape.
Mhm.
If you see after COVID, like many company, even although the pandemic and the lockdown was lifted, but many companies still have their employees work remotely. Until just recently now, I think like some of them are trying to force their employee to work from office because of productivity.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Do you think, what's your opinion on remote work? Should everyone be in the office or does it depend or like is
I mean, it depends. I mean, if it is up to me or if you ask me a personal preference, I prefer to come to my office because I like physical things. I like to meet people, talk people. If you work from your home, it might be time efficient in a sense. You don't have any distraction, like you don't have any distraction, right? So you're just in front of your screen. You do your thing, and probably like you have freedom. Even you can travel. Probably each week you go to somewhere and keep working because you're hooked on the grid. So in that sense, it's good in terms of flexibility. And you might think you're saving time, but sometimes with time you lose time because uh, you lose that sense of time because now you will have a lot of time, so you take it for granted, and you won't be productive with time. But if you have some distraction, what you think as a distraction, let's say if you went for a walk 20 minutes, uh, you might think it's distraction from your work, but actually it helped you. It's like when you switch, from one task to other, that's helpful for your brain. So you switch to, I don't know, 20-minute walking, which also help for neuroplasticity, right? But or even if you cook, right? So you engage in some things and you go back to what you're doing, you will be more productive. Even we have many technique, like we have one of them is like Pomodoro. You do a specific task for time, then you take a small break, then you switch back. And the studies show if you do such technique, you will be more productive than just working straight on a task.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's it's really interesting. But if it if your question was personal, I prefer office because it's not just to complete task, it's like to be there,
Yeah.
it's like to be there to see people, like to know stuff. And if you're in your office, like you have like you have opportunities, you see people, you get some information. If you're in your room before in front of your screen, like it is only you and your screen.
True.
So like you will miss out on a lot of things, and I don't think you want to do that, right?
No, yeah, lately too, cause my wife,
Like you get FOMO.
Myra always tells me, she's like, "You're always on the phone or watching." I'm like, "I'm watching YouTube though," and I'm like, I when I watch YouTube, I watch like I like watching like something very informational, like stuff like that. Um, but then I also tell Myra, I was like, "But you're also on the phone too. I think you're on the phone more than me." It's because usually I'm watching more on the TV.
Yeah,
And of course, like I use a TV, like if I'm in the kitchen, this and that, I'll play music or I'm watching or hearing a podcast, this and that. But yeah, if I don't have anything, I have to have something. But there are some times, Rod, where like if my phone dies and there's nothing, for example, if I'm washing dishes, I have time for myself and I'm thinking and it's like very calm. Or sometimes it's happened like a few times the past month. I was outside in the backyard just thinking, especially at night one time. I was like, it's nice. It's very nice. Or when we were on, when was it? We went to the Black Hills
um
little camping trip, and there was no internet. And they told us, they said, "There's no internet." And I checked my phone, like, "There's no internet."
so you're happy.
Yeah, but it was just it was fun because it was just us, and we were, making s'mores and a campfire and cooking.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's fun to get away, and I guess there's maybe it could be like a balance thing, but I understand, like, hey, there's too much stuff. Something that's been past few years, like materialism, I don't know. I think it does affect people a lot. For me, I'm not bragging or nothing. Like for me, I'm not into like, for example, like clothes, jewelry, cars, even like a house. I'm not into that stuff. I've been,
House.
I love it. Video games though, that stuff and tech, I like that stuff a lot. But I always like I told Myra, I said, if we lost, for example, all that stuff, I'd rather lose something physical than lose. I know this is kind of cheesy than lose my family.
Of
I,
course.
I think that stuff is more important.
Of course.
And of course, it's nice to have stuff, but also hopefully like, because now I know more people that do like charity work or this and that. Because that stuff, you won't have all that stuff forever. Because something that's gonna happen that happens to everyone. Everyone is born, and everyone will die, unless time travel and all that. What happened in between?
Or anti-Asian.
Yeah, anti-aging. Which my friend Mark, yeah, I always mention him. He wants to do that stuff. So I told him, I said, "Hey, I'll be the first subject. I will. If he needs a test subject, I'll do it." Myra doesn't. Myra doesn't like that stuff, but I guess that's good. I admire her because she likes to live the life, live in the moment. But I like tech. I like science. I like science fiction. Are you familiar with that? The movie Planet of the Apes?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen like those trilogies like Rise of the Planet of the
I
Apes?
think I've seen the first two.
Yeah. So I love that. And it relates because I'd like to talk with Myra about these discussions about the AI stuff. And I told her, what if like apes or any animal, if they got smart enough, just like us, just
And they will take over.
yeah, they would take over the world. But like, would we treat them differently? And I would think no, we wouldn't. But it's been happening throughout history with just people in different races or cultures. So, but it's that fear of if something is different. But I don't know. It's just I don't know. I think I was rambling too much on that stuff.
Which, like you remind me of, I don't know if you've seen The Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy,
Yeah.
which is a big thing in computing, by the way. It's like our lore thing, right? So if you see in that, whether uh, whether the book or the series, It's like, you know, we as scientists, we try to do experiment on rats, right, and mice in lab. So like in that series, it was the opposite. It was these mice are doing experiment on Earth, which is ironic, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, like, you know, like it's all about this kind of big experiment of life. And you were talking about anti-Asian. I don't know if you're familiar with Epic of Gilgamesh, because like you like history, you told me. So we'll talk brief of history. So like there is a kind of Sumerian clay tablet. So you know, like back in the days, um, you know, all these ancient like civilization. I mean, like, you know, the first probably two prominent civilizations that we know or documented, we have the ancient Egyptian, and we have Sumerian, or what we call Mesopotamian, right? So these two used to have some writing system, right? Each one of them, I don't know. So the ancient Egyptian have what you call hieroglyphic, it's like drawing on a stone, and Sumerian have what you call cuneiform. It's like you write some shape using some sharp tool. It's like a cuneiform basically, and you write this on a clay tablet. You know, so you engrave a stuff. Then when you write a stuff using some symbols, you put them under sun to dry off, then you get a clay tablet.
Okay.
So like we have one of these clay tablet, which is we consider in the field as a masterpiece because it tell us a lot about this ancient civilization, their perspective about life. So in this epic of Gilgamesh also talk about creation of the world, which is somehow very similar to the concept we know in Christianity. You know, Adam and Eve stuff, although it wasn't Adam and Eve, but kind of the whole creation thing is very similar. Even the flood, like Noah flood, like we have some stories that prove that all of these events somehow happened back in that time. But also in Epic of Gilgamesh, it talk about, you know, the meaning of life, and it was about a king. His name is Gilgamesh. Kind of he was on a quest to find kind of a secret plant or flowers that will be his elixir for eternity. You know, so he traveled a lot of places. He met with many people. Even his best friend died. Um, so he was trying to find with kind of something that helped him to be eternal. But then he found out probably he was wrong, or he have it all wrong. It's not about eternity, it's about the journey, you know? I mean, like, think of it. If you're even, I don't know if you've seen this old movie, Bicentennial Man. So it was about a robot uh, who want to become a man. So that robot is like eternal, right? Because machine can kind of live forever, let's say in theory,
Yeah.
right? So um, and he came in love with a woman. Then this woman, because she's a human, right? She have a like limited lifetime, right? So he loved her and she loved him back. Uh, then at some point she was growing old and he still himself. So then he wanted to convert and become a human, you know. He like used to convert to like kind of die peacefully with her, which is interesting because you see all of these people you love, all of them are dying, and you still going on and on and on and on.
It's like a curse.
It's curse, but maybe also a blessing too.
Hmm.
You know, it's curse and a blessing. Yeah, at some point you get bored and you lose this meaning of life because what's the point? Whatever you do will perish. All the people you love, at some point, they will be dead, and you're still going on and on and on.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, it's really intriguing how we see things. I mean, life, you know, life is mysterious.
Yeah. And it is that journey because we don't know when. Like we don't know when we will die. And hopefully we're not taking like stuff for granted. Cause yeah, like for example, if I could live forever, I would think, well, oh man, I'm gonna do all these things and this and that. But would I?
And then what, you know?
Yeah, or I did, and then what? Or would it be like, "Well, I got all the time, I'll probably do it," because it happens sometimes, like procrastination, like, I'll be, "Oh, well, I'll finish I got all the time in the world, I'll finish this later on," and then you delay, 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 but then you also don't appreciate some of that stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes stuff for granted. Yeah. I wonder yeah. I wonder if we got it wrong then, or with some people I'm gonna ask Mark, like, should we live forever? But I don't know.
I mean, in some like religion, like even we say like we don't die. We just move from one state to other.
Yeah.
It's even in science, by the way. Uh, it's all about changing of state. You can't create something nor destroy it. It's a change in a state. Even which kind of also something I do quantum computing. Like many kind of sci-fi thing, it is possible in theory. Let's say we have quantum teleportation, which I teach. We can like teleport, let's say, some particle from one place to other using kind of quantum mechanics, right? And it's feasible in theory. Even if you have pen paper, I can prove it for you. You know, but the only reason, at least for now, we can apply it for us, for people, for a human, because it requires a complete destruction of your state. So if we do that, we die. But we can do this for small particle, and I mean, we have big facilities to do that. We can move one particle from one place to other using quantum mechanics. It's feasible.
Is it the same item though, or is it completely different?
Yes, it is the same because you break it down. It's like you go atomic level. It's like the same thing. So that's why we call it like quantum teleportation.
Ah,
It's like you teleport this particle from here to here.
okay. It's not cloning, it's the teleportation.
Yes, it's non-clonic theory.
Ah,
Yeah, so it's not cloning, but also like you can clone things, of course, but that's another topic.
yeah. Well, I was thinking about the cloning thing a little bit. Because I've seen it with I think when people clone their pets,
Yeah.
but they'll say that the personality is completely different. So do you think there is that, or I don't know what? I will.
If you want, I will answer your question and using two example. Let's say you know you're a father, right? So like you have kids, and probably you raise your kid for I don't know, let's say many years, let's say 18 years. So at some point, your kid left you for their own thing, right? For their own life, like to live on their own. Probably during this 18 years, you know your kid, right? You raise them, you taught them stuff, you taught them how to do stuff, how to think, you gave them morals and manners, right? Now, once they live on their own, once they are on their own, probably they will use most of the thing you taught them, right? I mean, that's the knowledge, and even we call it wisdom. You're applying this knowledge, right? So now this or your kid is on their own, so they make some decision based on their neurons, right? On their knowledge, and they make some decision. Maybe some of these decision, if you're trying to see um, like to see it as a third observer, like you might think some of these are wrong, or maybe you won't approve them. But now is no longer your choice because this was made by your kid. So like you think, oh, like I didn't teach you to do that, but your kid did it, right? So that's kind of like the same thing here. Yes, you taught your kid for a period of time, but now they have to live their life.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
so this is kind of one example about kind of this switch.
Okay. So wherever, so if I was born again, or had like clothes.
Yeah, that's a religious term. Oh, and again,
But if I lived a different life, like in a different area, or this in a different background, I would probably be a different person too. It's a different personality, maybe ish.
I mean, yes and no. So like probably if which what I was about to say in my second example, by the way, but it's like you transfer So it's like even in AI we call it transfer learning. So you transfer this whole knowledge. Uh, Most probably, if you use the same knowledge, you might come up with the same outcome, and that's we call it predictability. You know, so that's when you have stuff predictable. Um, or even we call it in science, in computing, we call it ir- irreversible, um, like function. So if you have, if you have a box or a machine or a person, you feed the same input in terms of knowledge. So if you put the same parameter for one person or a machine, you expect to get the same outcome, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not changing variable and parameter, so if you want to think it as a math equation, it's like if you have an equation, right? If you have a function, if you have the same parameter always, probably you always expect the same outcome. But we as people, as a human, we don't function in that way because the function is dynamic. It change. Why it change? Because we live in environment. We live in community. So we change with time. So even this function is not static. Now it's dynamic. So this function have even its own hyperparameter that it change with time.
Okay.
So yes, and if you want a simple example, uh, let's say if you have done some mistake, or if you want to talk religiously, some sins in your past. Uh, Now, if you think now in hindsight, or you go back in time, you think you will repeat the same mistake?
No.
Well, you never know, right?
Well, yeah, I actually don't know. Oh, that. Yeah. Would I? Do I know? I don't know. I feel like I always mess up all the time. Ask my wife.
But yeah, so if you want, I will switch to my second example. So like my second example is which kind of an idea I was trying to work on, although it is tough in a sense. It has many aspects, morals, philosophical, religious. But like let's like think about if we have, a system, and here I'm talking AI systems. I mean, if you have a way, to, I mean, it's not a cloning, but if you, let's say, if you have a grandparent, right? I don't know, your grandfather probably, you love your grandfather, but your grandfather passed away many years ago, and now you are a father. Your child won't know their grandfather, but like, let's say you have a way you can simulate your grandfather.
Yeah.
You share the same kind of mindset, because mindset, especially people, are predictable, by the way. If you crack their algorithm, we are all predictable in a way or in another. So if you can simulate how we think, our mindset, how we operate, how our neuron got triggered by some event, and also you collect all of these memory, so like you can kind of simulate your grandfather, right? And then probably even with VR, like VR, virtual reality, or even AR, augmented reality, you can create an embodiment of your grandfather. And with large language model, it's like you talk with a ChatGPT. Now it's like you have a way to talk with your late grandfather. Then you have an opportunity for your child to get to know your grandfather, which even, like these days we see it as a video. Probably you've seen some video went viral on social media. Some people use AI tool to create some scene from, I don't know, antiquity, like Moses' time when they
Yeah, I've seen those.
cross the Red Sea and stuff like that, and they move, or even Jesus stuff. So yeah, like you can do stuff like that. Even like you can do like deep fake, right? Like you can create or generate a video about, I don't know, someone very famous or a president, and write your own script. Maybe you can write some personal script. So yeah, like probably at some point we can create something like that. But now the question is this good, bad? It depends.
Okay.
So it depends why or how you're using the thing. And I mean, this example is more like kind of personal thing. I mean, this is personal example, family related. But even you can scale up this concept for artifacts. Let's say now, like we have many sites that are endangered or even a species. Probably at some point, this species or even site, if you want to talk about anthropology and history, we might lose them, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we have some organizations that root to keep and preserve this species or historical site. So if we can create some simulation or a what I like to call a digital twin of the thing, it's like at least you preserve them in a digital world, so our future generation can have opportunity to see or witness these. I mean, it's like now, we always hear about like dinosaurs and stuff, right? But we've never seen them. But now we see some simulation about dinosaurs, movie stuff.
Yeah.
So we know of them even if we were not living in their era, which is really interesting.
Yeah. So would it be possible, like, in the future, let's say, hopefully I don't never it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Let's say I pass away, but with all like I have a bunch of video, a bunch of audio, this and that. Is it possible to use all that stuff to make a digital model? And then like my wife, my family, or anyone.
Yes, it is possible. Even if you want, if we really wanted even to make it simple and maybe more philosophical, not even technology or AI, I will share one personal story. Um, like my friend in Louisiana, like I have one friend in Louisiana during like COVID, he had issues, health issues, and he was about to lose his voice. And he used to sing and play guitar, so it was a big thing for him. Uh, I mean, and I was with him during this period. Even I told him like, "Don't worry, I will pray for you, and I'm pretty sure like you will restore your voice." But it's like if you're in bad situation, even if people support you, like you would think, what do these people know, right? I mean, like the fire burn you, not them, right? So like you're in the heat, right? So so like he was very nervous and thought of an idea. Uh, so after a few weeks, he recovered somehow. It was like miracle to be honest, because all medical doctor told him, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
We might able to do some surgery, restore a bit, but it won't be 100%. But after a few weeks, he fully recovered and he learned from this experience. And he said, probably I should do something for my kids and my grandchildren. So what he did, he create an album with all of his favorite song, and he plays them, and he recorded this for his kids and grandchildren. So if one day he pass away, that they have something to remember him, which is these songs.
Okay.
So like what I'm trying to say here, this is a simple example without AI. Now imagine what you can do with AI. You can even create a full embodiment of a person.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff is interesting.
Yeah, but of course, this idea might not be acceptable by everyone because people will say, now you're like playing God role, maybe,
Uh-huh.
and probably they think this is bad. You're changing the fabric of the universe.
This stuff is cool. For me, I know, like, I love it, but of course, it's not gonna, like, if I made a digital copy of my wife, it's not gonna replace her.
Well, like you should ask your wife.
Yeah, that's it. She'll probably
What's your
replace me.
opinion on the matter?
She'll probably replace me real quick. But this stuff is it's cool, and I look at it, I'm like, "Whoa, this is stuff I was, looking at when I was a kid, and it's now becoming reality." Like in that movie Iron Man with Jarvis, it's it's when
Yeah,
Bermuda,
yeah.
it's just like that. Still, you kinda have to put, like, an input, but hopefully there's a part, or they'll make something where, like, you don't have to just input something, and then it kinda starts, I don't know.
Like on their own.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, which we already have, by the way.
we do?
Yeah, but it might not be accessible for
Ah,
everyone. But what we cook in labs, you will see in 5 years or 2 years. It's really impressive. It will blow your mind. Uh, Now you can do literally anything you want. It's really crazy. I mean, and it's like magic. You know, which even sometimes we do stuff, by the way. Even even if we write a code, like sometimes we don't understand why it worked, but we're so happy it worked. You know,
Yeah.
it's really impressive what we can do these days with AI.
Yeah, and now more people are more accessible. Like, another example is I made a little website, I haven't updated it.
Uh,
I don't know how to do coding, I don't know how to do it, and I was using Gemini for it,
okay.
because I have it on, like, my Facebook thing, and it I was like, "Can you help me make a website?" It made a website, I was like, "Hey, can you change this? Can you add my videos?" And it pulled up, and then it added the pictures, and then the links, and then the pages. I was like, "Oh, snap," and then I could look at the code. I don't understand, I don't know how to read code, but it kinda did it. Now I don't know how secure it is, but I was like, "Hey, like, just some of the basic stuff, it's cool." Or like how I mentioned about the editing, like, it didn't do the editing for me, but it kinda showed me or taught it. Because with me, with my mind, there's stuff like I wanna say, but I don't know how to say it or explain it, but I could write it down, and then it kinda hopefully catches.
Yes, exactly. And which I tell my student, like this like semester, I'm teaching a course called Information Storage and Retrieval, which is a grad course. Like, so I tell my student, um, if you really want to work with this like system, it's critical to know how you represent your information need, which in a chat GPT language we call it a prompt, right? So like you should know how to write your prompt or that input to this chat GPT and AI tools, because if you write it in a way that it doesn't match your information need or your intention, most probably you will get wrong answer.
Yeah.
So like this step is very critical, and it is a field by itself, by the way. Even now we call it prompt engineering. Some researchers argue probably should call it context engineering because it's more about the context.
Yeah.
It's not just a prompt. But yeah, so this step is very critical because even, like many times, even now, probably like you have an idea on your mind, or even me, right? But the way I communicate it or convey it, it might not be as intended. So the representation might be corrupted or changed if you don't know how to properly represent or convey your message.
Yeah.
And
That's
this is why communication is a critical.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, and then I'm understanding now, like, when it started happening, when ChatGPT became more public, people were, like, concerned that, "Oh, now all the students are teaching, oh," or I mean, all the students are cheating because, all you have to do is write this. Yeah, it could do that, but there you also have those people that are using it as a tool, like, "Hey, I have this idea, how do we make it like this?" Or, "Oh, can we put it's just a tool. Because anyway, cause same thing, you could just go to Google and, like, figure out some of the stuff, but the creative part, I don't know, that's how I see it. I like it. It's like reality. It's like magic. I think it's really cool. I like this stuff. Man, maybe I should study. I need to go to one of your classes to see how it is.
Sure, like you can audit it.
Yeah, but it's fascinating. I like this stuff. I like playing with it. I like doing stuff with it. Well, I guess thanks to it, because that's why I've been trying different things. Hopefully we'll see what happens. There's a lot of ideas. The thing that I've tried messing with it is because it's not gonna work. It's like, how do I make like a how do I get this idea out? Of course, it gives me input,
Yeah.
but I also have to do the stuff, I have to this and that. It's not like a money maker, and I think that's what some people I don't think. That's how people get scammed too.
It's like, you grow money on tree now. You bruise them on in ChatGPT.
But yeah, that's I don't know. So see, I said it was gonna be an hour. We're in an hour and 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine. If you want, we can keep going.
But
And if you want, because you were talking about education,
sure.
um, if you want, let's just switch and talk about uh, our education landscape with AI, because I think this is, an important topic. And yes, in academia, instructor and professor have hard time to navigate this new educational landscape, which is why, and I'm trying to be very vocal recently, I think it's time for what I call education renaissance. You know, now the whole education landscape has changed already. I mean, with ChatGPT and these large language model and AI tools, I think it is time to reevaluate the process that we do in education. Although I'm a big fan of the old school way, because I will tell you why. I mean, um, like many people probably these days don't use pen and paper. I still do, or at least I use my iPad with like very similar, right? Like the idea of writing down information or an idea on a paper or iPad, it helps you to reinforce this idea. So it helps you with knowledge and with learning. Then the more you do this process, it's like what we call active recall. So after a few days, you repeat the same thing. It's like you reinforce this information. So like you learn more. Like these days, uh, most students will read the stuff off their laptop quickly, and they think it's easy. They skim them, then after a few days, they forget everything, you know? So like this is why I'm a big fan of all the school, only in that sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's time to, change the way we give assignment, for example. I mean, let's say, which I did a few days ago, um, I made an assignment for my student. It's more reading um, a paper by Google, the first paper where they introduce their search engine, which is Google. It is foundational white paper. It's really important, although it's now I think it's very old, right? Um, so I ask my student read that paper and then write me a short review about this paper, like answering specific thing. I ask them A B C D C, like A B C D E F, and so. And I told them, uh, you don't need even to use ChatGPT or stuff. And probably some of you would tell me, yeah, professor, I just use it for proofreading, grammar stuff. I told them, I don't mind if your grammar is wrong. I don't mind if your sentence structure is wrong. I don't mind if you have mistakes. What I care about is you read that paper, you understand it, and do all your best to answer this question. It's not an English course. I just care about the logic behind it. And I told them, I mean, there is no need to use ChatGPT or so, It's just about this process. And I made it clear because I don't want anyone, to pull the whole thing and like to, run the whole thing in ChatGPT and get the assignment without learning anything. Then what's the point? And some people, some students will do that, by the way. So they put the assignment on ChatGPT or AI tools, and they spend probably like 2 hours for that. Although if they try to do the assignment by themselves, probably it will take them 20 minutes. Which is crazy and ironic.
It's easier just doing the assignment.
Exactly, but no, like students these days, like they have wild imagination. Like they are so creative. So I think as a professor, we have to upscale like our, like mode of instruction to keep a track with all their tricks.
Yeah.
Even like, recently I've noticed some student will use ChatGPT to generate their assignment and answers. Then they try, once like they are done, they try to make intentionally couple of mistakes to make the answer look like a human sound, which is funny. And I told them, you can trick me.
Is everyone is all the students kind of using AI to do that stuff?
I think most of them, which is good, by the way. And I told them, use it as assistive tool. I don't mind, but submit your original work.
Yeah.
You know, even I encourage them to use all of these tools because at work probably like they will have to use them anyway. Even now, it's a requirement. Like many company will list knowledge of specific AI tools as a requirement for a job. I mean, how to use some AI tool to help you with coding. It is because it make a profit for the company. You save a lot of time. So if you augment your capability, with AI tool or even any tool that's good for the company because you're making more profit. I mean, what do you think it make like Iron Man is his iron suit, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the same thing.
Yeah.
Every one of us should get their iron suit, and in this context, it's AI.
No, you're right. Because also, like nowadays, we'll even like fall back. Like I think a lot of companies, for example, they'll, hey, do you know Microsoft Office, like Word, Excel, this and that, or like I'll give an example, maybe like accounting. Like, sure, okay, you could do probably paper, but do you know the software? Do you know how to use the internet or a computer? Stuff like that. And I think nowadays, like AI, it's gonna be one of those tools like, "Hey, do you know how to use it?" or this and that, depending on what it is, but yeah, it's fascinating, all this stuff, like, I'm excited. I know at work, we actually did use it. We're using Copilot.
Okay.
My boss was using it as, we don't work with students, but he was making, not grants, a template or something with reviews with other universities, what we do. And he says, "Yeah, use Copilot. Here's this template, and then copy the other thing from the document right there, ask it, and yeah, I go pa, pa, pa." It saves a bunch of time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it helped with production.
Production, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we should take advantage of that. That's something we shouldn't ban for any reason. But maybe we should create or adapt to this landscape because like I think we're not ready. Probably we should have some regulation about IPs, who own what, and if something happened, who's responsible. I mean, if we want to talk about, I don't know, these self-driving cars, let's say, I mean, they use AI systems. I mean, if a car is driving by itself and let's say an accident happened, who's responsible, you know?
Yeah.
Or if you have some artistic forgery, but it's made by AI, who's responsible? Or if, I don't know, if you create some new art, let's say, even it's not forgery, with AI, who have the IP? Profit go to the user who prompts the system or to the company that created that AI system. I think we should spend time in this area to establish this new landscape instead of try to control the development of AI because I think it won't end up nicely because if something we learn from history, uh, if we try to control things in a specific way, it might turn out bad because it become only like monopoly for only probably big companies.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, another example with that. So you know how like people can use AI for like voices, and I've seen it a lot, and I think it's kind of funny. But I'm I was wondering, okay, could for example, like a famous musician artist,
Yeah,
they say, "Hey, that's my voice." Sure, but what about before we had the AI stuff with the voices? People that would do interpretations and they would copy the voice. It sounds just like the person, but is it your voice? Oh, but it's AI? I don't know, or is it the same with music? Because also with music, you're also getting influenced by other stuff, so it's different, and I know they're talking about deep fakes and this and that, but it's I don't know, it's one of those strange things.
yeah, and like we already have stuff like that. Even I don't know if you watch like Netflix, for example, like if you put some show or series, like you can pick the language that you want. Let's say English, Spanish, French, and whatnot, and you will hear the same voice but in another language.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you notice that, for example. Yeah, so like we have these things, even not just with Netflix, even with some like learning platform. Even if you want to learn some language, now you use AI to help with this process quickly. And another comment, because you were talking about acting and voice. A few years ago, by the way, um, we had a big protest in Hollywood
Remember that.
uh,
Yeah.
because now you can use AI, and CGI to create an actor that is exactly the same as the real actor and their voice and stuff. So now you no longer need people to act anymore. But now the question, if you really want to have someone or some system that is similar to real actor, probably you might need to pay them some royalty fees, right?
Mm.
Uh, and probably, uh, well, some company will do that for a few years. Probably at some point they will say, even, oh, we don't need real people anymore. We can create new fake person using AI and have movies, and we go from there. So that's what I mean. All of this landscape is it changing. I think we should focus on how to adapt because if we don't adapt, we lose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's history taught us this lesson. If you don't adapt, you lose.
Yeah, if we don't do it, someone else is gonna
Of
do it.
course.
Yeah, someone else is gonna do it. It
Yeah,
could be, like, in this country or somewhere else or whatever. Uh, we already started it. I don't think we can stop it, but yeah, it's just like with every new invention or new something. It could've been, like, the car,
exactly.
anything.
And like like what you said is a good point. because I will tell you, the paper that proposed the architecture behind ChatGPT, it's transformer. It's the title of the paper. Attention is all you need. Um, so the author of this paper proposed this architecture for specific purpose, which is not the same as what we do now. So they intended something, even they didn't know that this thing will become so big and used in many ways and contexts. Now it's like what I call we sell shovels in this gold rush. So this whole hype of AI is a gold rush. Now many people will sell this shovels. They create tool off of this AI system. And probably these tools, the original author of the paper probably like didn't expect we'll have tools like that from their own product, which is really interesting.
Fascinating. And it probably like with all this boom that's going on, I think with like, with the market, it'll probably die down and the best, I don't know, best there's a bunch of competitions.
Yeah,
We'll get the good tools, usually the bad tools will kinda die down, but it's exciting times.
it is exciting.
Did you ever think when you were, I don't know, like just a few years ago that this stuff would happen in our lifetime? Did you ever think of that?
I mean, yes, and even I was expecting more, and probably I'm still expecting more. If you see, like the field is, like the field is progressing quickly. Even ourselves, we had hard time to catch up. Every single day you have new model, new technique, new approach. I mean, yes, I'm professor, but I still study. I still learn to stay updated. It is very challenging, but at the same time interesting because if you don't learn, if you don't stay updated, you become irrelevant. I mean, the field, if someone, let's say, got their degree today, let's say, in the field, let's say PhD in AI, let's say, and they switch to work in another field, even after 1 year, if they try to come back to the field, they become obsolete because the field is moving quickly. It's not like if you have a PhD in language or something, probably language evolve, yes, but not at this rate. It's kind of somehow static. It evolve slowly.
Yeah.
So that's easier in terms of research and in terms of catching up. With AI computing system, it's crazy.
Don't they say with like tech, like every few years, it's like triple or double what it was before? Something like that.
Yeah, I mean exactly. I mean it's like you get every year a new iPhone. It's like literally like the same thing, which is a crazy. And I think that's how this company make a profit. And if you want an example, which is really interesting, and I always use it, if like many years ago, I mean, if you get an old, I don't know, uh, washing machine, probably if you get an old one, I don't know, probably your grandparents have an old one, very heavy. This washing machine will last like forever. Now, if you get a one or even TV or whatever, probably all of these electronic machine will last you maybe roughly 2 years only. And, uh, the reason is because it's the way we create them. Even when we study, I mean, I did engineering, so the way we study when we try to design this system, it is based on, like equations and physics and stuff. So in this equation, we put intentionally the lifetime of this system to be, let's say, 2 to 5 years. Then you create a system based on that. And the reason we do that these days, it's because industrialization and the profit. So if we, I don't know, if we create a phone that lasts forever or a washing machine lasts forever, then how this company will make a profit? You buy this thing like one time, and that's it. So now these companies change their model of operation and like business. So they try to create products that won't last much. So you always have to get the new thing,
Yeah.
So it probably lasts you 2 years and you have to renew it to get new thing. And even if we want to talk about phone, even if you kept your phone, by the way, even if somehow it lasted, they always will push you some update.
Yeah.
At some point your phone will be full, then you will be forced to get new one.
Yeah. I know. I've seen that. I follow like the phone industry on that, and Man, I got a lot of stuff about man, I'll go rant on it, but I think we gotta cut it. We're at an hour and 40. Holy crap, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even like we can, like we can talk, I don't know, for days, if not months about that.
I'll get you on again.
Yeah.
Is there any last things, last words, shout outs, or anything you wanna give out?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. And I think you've tried to have me on this podcast now for a while, but my schedule and I was traveling, so I wasn't able to make it. And finally, we made it. And today we made it, but we missed that game.
Yeah, oh,
If we had a football game to do.
what's USD home? I missed it, but
So, like, hope they won, right?
yeah, I hope so. Hopefully it was worth it. But sweet. All right. I think we should end it, but I do want to thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you.